And good morning. It is a good morning because it's Good Friday. So you have that for you. My name is Jay Cleveland Payne for this Friday, April 15th edition of your things you might not have heard. In normal years in the past, this would be also be tax day. But now that with the kind of shift of things, tax day is now actually on the 18th. So you're not quite late yet. So get your extension in by Monday. You can do it electronically, do it real quick. But we're not talking about taxes today. We're talking about other things that happened in the last 30 hours. The top news stories that were vetted by you out there across the internets, plus the algorithms themselves letting us know what's going on. And the algorithm may have a bit more to say about what goes on further, as we'll talk about one of the stories today. We call ourselves your news side piece. We think of ourselves as your tertiary news source. We're not your main guy. We're not your side guy. We're somewhere off the slide, but we're giving you some stories that may not get the big love that you would usually expect on the big main newscast. Today, I think we got some big love stories because there's some things just need to sort of stay intact. So we're going to get into those stories right now. We have 6 stories. We're going to squeeze an extra story in here for you this morning and just kind of go along with the flow. So let us know what you think about it. Check out our main website. This is theconversationproject.com. Lots of great things going on there. We'll talk about that in a bit, including ways you can find out about being a partner or finding more sponsors for what we have going on here. Story number 1 this morning. Florida Highway Weather Patrol shares more Grizzly details from Dwayne Haskins' investigation. Yes, more details. TotalProSports.com is the source for this one. And it's more than just Dwayne Haskins' car was in a quick accident. He was on the side of the highway, and while trying to basically escape the vehicle and get out of the way and trying to deal with the assessment, was hit by a dump truck on the roadway. What we're getting, and it's very, very small, extremely sketchy because I guess they're trying to drag this thing out, but was essentially that Haskins was walking on I-595, actually walking on that interstate highway, that bypass highway, quote, with limited access facility for unknown reasons, unquote, as if he was just sort of wandering the streets, if you will, wandering the highway after the crash, waiting for something, and then being hit by that dump truck. The full details, we'll never actually know because we can't ask Haskins what was going on, but as we're going through this. But what we're getting is bits and pieces, more bits and pieces from bystanders and more bits and pieces trying to fill the gaps on what was going on in the situation. Not a very good situation, obviously, but we will do what we can to keep this story going. We want to make sure that this story doesn't get lost in a lot of things. I know there are, air quotes, more important stories going on out there, or at least more things that are more crucial to a national audience or actually worldwide audience. But this is a story that just sort of happened that sometimes you got to get to some in the resolution. You got to get to some sort of piece in the story, piece to the end of the story. And this is one that as it popped up, in the strange way it turned into a story, it's one that a lot of people want to see the resolve to, and we're going to do our best to keep up with that and make sure that gets found. 2 quick stories together here, and these aren't necessarily important at all. This goes to kind of the weirdness of Hollywood and how people can shift people out, and how just the luck of the draw or the circumstances of life can put you into the role of a lifetime or take you out of it and put someone else into that role, and what happens there. Lupin star Omar Sy replacing Sterling K. Brown in Shadow Force action film with Kerry Washington at Lionsgate. That's from Shadow and Act. And also Thandiwe Newton issues statement after Magic Mike 3 exit, replaced by Salma Hayek. GamesRadar.com for that one as well. So I don't know the details are in the stories, but Omar Sy is going to go in and replace Sterling K. Brown for that movie with Kerry Washington, because that's basically a scheduling conflict for all practical purposes, and this gives a rising star, Omar Sy, a chance to step in this. Now, if you've not seen Lupin, this is a Netflix show, and it's French, so it's one of those things. But there's a dub version, which is why I watch it, because I don't like reading my TV, read enough these things as it is. And he's going to replace Sterling K. Brown because it just happened. These things happen. You never know what happens when someone pulls out, someone else steps in, and you can see how the production turns out. For the Magic Mike story, apparently there's some beef with Thandiwe Newton and some of the folks on the staff and some of the folks in the cast of Magic Mike. So she's been plugged from it and being replaced by Salma Hayek. Now, the first thing you would think on that is, it sounds like a pretty big age gap between Thandiwe Newton and Salma Hayek. We'll see what the role actually entails, and does that make a difference? Not a big hot looking mama gap, because they both qualify as hot looking mamas and be saying, call him hot looking mamas. Appreciate shows you my age. But we'll see how the role plays when Thandiwe Newton, not being in this movie, gets replaced by Salma Hayek, who, of course, both of those actresses more or less established their roles in Hollywood. They don't have anything to worry about on those ends. But we'll see what happens when the role is played by another actor in another capacity, how it plays out and how it maybe could have been. You may say in your fantasy movie scripts, it could have been different, so much different with Thandiwe Newton. It is Magic Mike after all. Elon Musk wants to buy out Twitter in final $43 billion unsolicited bid. Bloomberg.com is this source, and this is the big story across the internet that, actually could affect this thing right here. Because why is Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter? A few days ago, he released the information, because you have to, that he bought, $9 billion worth of stock. He's a 9% of the stock of the company. He's basically the highest randomish stock guy owning pieces of the company, and he wants to buy the whole thing outright and take it public, own it in his portfolio, do whatever. And the rumors of why he wants to do this are all over the place. Number one, Elon Musk, not the biggest fan of the Twitter board, the Twitter folks. He when he bought all the shares, he announced he was going to join the board and decided not to. And then, of course, this big bid came out. Number two, Elon Musk uses Twitter a lot for his mode of conversation, his mode of getting information out. This is how he rises the prices of crypto, by saying, evil to the moon, or Doge to the moon. Basically just sort of putting things out there and riling up the masses, if you will. People follow him on Twitter and people listen to him on Twitter. Whether it actually is an actual good source of information or just a echo chamber for your own folks, that's beside the point. Elon Musk is basically threatening to open up Twitter and give it more free speech, more freedom to react. And in fact, some people are lobbying for Elon Musk to go ahead and bring Donald Trump back to Twitter. First, he has to buy it. We'll see if that happens, and then we'll see if the saga of Twitter comes through, and we'll see how that will affect the Conversation Project, because most of our traffic, most of our stats, most of the people that we get in contact with from you, the numbers, come from the mass appeal from Twitter. We'll move to the next story. This one right here. Jim Ross won't appear on future Dark Side of the Ring. I have some problems with some Dark Side editing. I thought I was misrepresented a time or two in the edit. Very bad impression. Wrestling.co, WrestlingNews.co is the source of this one. Dark Side of the Ring is a documentary series that documents some of the darker sides of professional wrestling, some of the big time stories, some of the rumors, innuendo, and legendary stories that went on, and some of the deeper, darker sides of some guys that got some issues. One of the better ones that just came out last year, and I'm sure this is where they're really pointing at, or where Jim Ross is pointing at, is one that documented the plane ride from hell. There was a plane ride from an overseas tour for the WWE, I think it was still WWF at the time, where there was a delay, so all the wrestlers were sitting in the back just getting drunk, and the amount of time they took off, they were so drunk and they acted so much like asses that it was just hilarious to see and scary to think about. And it basically ruined a bunch of people's careers. A lot of people just refused to talk about it until it did the documentary. There are various rumors of some people involved in other things in the bits and pieces. It seems like a terror, and of course various members of the staff and crew of the flight ended up suing various people in WWE because of just how badly they acted. Some of the editing in that one, I guess, to make it sound really bad, it basically sort of made Jim Ross, who was essentially the boss of the wrestlers, in the editing of that one in particular, made it seem like he had no control over his people, which we may or may not have in that case, but not a good chance to state his case the way he believes he was edited in that one, and other issues as well. Jim Ross, a long stalwart member of the wrestling sports entertainment wrestling family and Parthenon, saying he's not going to appear in any more of these documentaries. So of course, I'm sure he got paid to be in them, so that's a little less money in his pocket, but he's a little more worried about reputation. Maybe some guys got to him for it. Maybe he just really was that upset about it. He's not going to be in these documentaries going forward. And finally, because it happened, Al Pacino, 81, has been dating Noor Alfallah, 28, for a while. Page6.com gave us this one. And this is a later stage one because this one I think I posted literally late in the stage on Wednesday, which puts it in the realm for picking up for a Thursday realm story. It picks up about an hour before midnight on Wednesday, and then we cut up at about 5 in the morning every single next day. So that's in the range. That is there, and that's something that we know about. And because Page Six has to fill a lot of stories, they do as well. Now, let's not get so hung up the fact that Al Pacino is dating his great granddaughter. Let's get on the fact that this is not some new thing. This is something that I think was actually pre-pandemic. I have to go back to the article to read it. It may be pre-pandemic or early pandemic. Al Pacino's been with this particular woman for a bit. And so if you're a older guy and you're wondering why you're not pulling young ladies, it's probably because Al Pacino is not giving up the game and not letting anybody in the game. So there. So you can say hats out to Al Pacino or hats out to Noor Alfallah for hooking this thing up. If this were obviously reverse numbers, reverse roles, and a much older woman with a much younger guy, yes, up in arms we would be. For this, it's just kind of a, it's Al Pacino. So, yes, double standards. You want to comment on that? You want to complain on that? You want to point fingers at me for bringing this up? There are comment sections for the videos. So just drop a comment. We will chat about it. We will bring it up again. Actually, I'm sure we won't bring this one up again because it won't be until Al Pacino dates another 29-year-old woman. But apparently he's got that. So we'll keep bringing it up too, because, we've got to fill the time. We are bypassing the story that we had for yesterday's teaser because there was enough actual outrage to be had today. And so I'm not talking about people riding dolphins to their death, but we are going to talk about a possible teaser story that will probably make the ratings for next week when we bring this back on Monday, because this is a big deal. This one really is a big deal. It's got to survive the weekend, though. So we'll see if we talk about this come Monday. The headline from BroBible.com reads, guy who bought Tom Brady's final TD ball for $500K at auction refused to pay after Brady retired, and the sale has now been voided. We're just going to leave that right there. It's pretty much all said in the title. They do that a lot sometimes. Make sure you read it. But the details are pretty much as it says. He unretired, so the guy was like, this ball ain't worth nothing. I ain't paying it. The deal is done. There's some ripple effects going through this thing, and the guy who caught the ball and was selling the ball in auction has some issues to do with it as well. But you can go in and see deeper into the story by seeing it as it. I believe it's already posted as I'm doing this live here, but check it out in your feed, and you can see if we're talking about Tom Brady reneging on his retirement, and the guy who bought his ball for retirement reneging on that pledge, and having that go all into haywire. We'll talk feeds in mere moments. But first, let's talk ads. We're going to talk about Blinkist, the Blinkist app. Go to thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist for your free trial, 7 full days of the Blinkist app. I use this app literally every single day. I go to sleep listening to Blinkist. I listen to a book on the way to going to sleep. I wake up and get ready to go to listen to Blinkist. I will play a book on my way to work today in my commute. 15 minutes is all you need to get a whole new good book inside of you. Blinkist takes great nonfiction and history books and breaks them down into 15-minute segments that you can basically take down, and specifically blinks the big important pieces in detail as you can actually read them in succession, just like an actual book on your phone, or you can listen to it just like an actual audiobook on your phone. It takes about 15 minutes to read and or listen to it, so you can read along as you listen. That happens as well. Don't do that while you're driving. I don't suggest that. But you can get the gist of the greatest nonfiction books out there. And as new books come out, Blinkist works to get them into their system so you can listen to them. They also have shortcasts, which are basically shorter versions, edited versions of the podcasts you love, but you don't love to listen to them because they're maybe 45 to an hour long, not an hour minutes. That makes no sense. So they basically also break down the main points of your podcast as they get re-edited into a shortcast that you can also consume in about 15 minutes. Check them out at thisistheconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is theconversationproject.com/Blinkist. This is an affiliate link that gives us a little bit of a kickback, but you're going to knock off and get the first 7 days of the full app for absolutely free. A full 7-day trial of the full app, and you will fall in love with this. You'll know how you got along with it before. I've been listening to Blinkist for years, and I don't know how I can live without this. I literally listen to a book every single night and one most mornings on the way into work because I can do it in 15 minutes. Check it out at Blinkist. We also want you to check out our main website, just in general, which is just this is the conversationproject.com. From there, you can find links to why we're doing this thing. You can find a lot of things we've worked on. We've been trying to improve the website a lot, trying to clear out some of the old clutter from the old project, so it's not just taking things up and explaining away things going forward, including I just posted there yesterday a new letter to you on how we got to the current version of the Conversation Project, what's happening there, what we've been doing, all the projects, as I say, almost in total hiatus, and also a media sheet on that highlights some of the projects that we want to do going forward. It highlights this one right here, plus a few other podcasts that we are trying to get launched in the next couple of months. So hopefully it won't make a liar out of me, but check it out at the main website. This is the conversationproject.com. You can also follow us on our feeds on Facebook and Twitter, th_conversation, and Facebook. This is a Conversation Project. What happens on the feeds? Well, we use those social media platforms to test out the news stories we're going to talk about. We post a new news story about every 50 minutes or so. And as they come up in the feed, when you're checking your Facebook, you're checking your Twitter, like them, love them, hate them, share them, read them, get the details of them, see what stories that you think are conversational that aren't necessarily the big ones that are on the chyrons on the big time national news, or make it to the 6:30 newscasts on the networks because they have to do the biggest for the broad audience. Some of these are a little weird, a little quirky, and some of the sources you might not be so thrilled with, but it is what it is. It's got what we've got. We do what we do. And you guys tell us what stories are the best to talk about, literally. So check those feeds out. Also, if you want to follow us on Facebook, let's say right now you're watching this on YouTube. You're watching us right now on Facebook, or someone sent you a clip of something going forward. We do some clips in some of these stories as well, and you want to see the full thing, go to our website to follow us on YouTube. This is theconversationproject.com/YouTube. We produce a larger audience on Monday, so you'll see a longer sort of pitch for this on the Monday show, because we produce to audiences that aren't on the main This is the Conversation Project feeds. So we want them on those for 5 days a week. Those only get them on a Monday version, the big version. So make sure you get us 5 days a week. Make sure you're following us on YouTube, and make sure you have your subscription set and your notifications, so that we go live every weekday morning about 5:40, 5:50 Central Standard Time, or is it Daylight Time? I can't remember which one it is. You will get the notification that we're here. We'll also let you know some other things that you can walk away with when your water cooler talk. Birthdays for today, going off of Seth Rogen at 40 years old today. Hard to believe that the guy's that young, but younger people say that old, being that I'm almost at the 50 age, it's that young. Also young, Emma Watson, 32, still young, kind of old, because we know her from the Harry Potter movies, now doing things much not Harry Potter. And Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, she only 25 years old. As we said earlier, we're going to celebrate Good Friday, so Good Friday is on the board. We prepare for Easter coming up in a few days. If you are one to celebrate, have a happy Easter. All your celebrations are great. If you're not one to celebrate, just enjoy Friday as a Good Friday, because you probably have, markets are closed, a lot of things that may be shut down. So it may be kind of a semi-vacation for you. Enjoy this Friday as what should be a Good Friday, unless you're in the north, and you're probably going to get snow for the weekend. One last thing you might not have heard. The reason why there's a hole in your pin caps is because they are a choking hazard. Yes, the international safety standard of putting a hole in your pin cap minimizes the risk of children accidentally inhaling the pin caps. Literally, they put them in their mouth, and so when they're breathing, the hole allows air to flow to go through the pin cap instead of sucking it into their mouth. Little aerodynamics lesson on a Good Friday. Didn't expect that, did you? Anderson Cooper doesn't do aerodynamics lessons on his show, does he? I don't think so. Today is Friday, April 15th, 2022. As we wrap up this recording, my name is still J. Cleveland Payne. This was the things you might have heard for this day. If you want to get more from us, make sure you stop by our website, thisistheconversationproject.com, and see what you can do to help us get out more. And in the process, make sure you follow the feed so you can be a part of the story selection process come Monday at this point and all week long at the Thingamabobber, Shoober-Doober, and Maboo. So check it out and see where to go on it. And of course, comments and all those praises are always great. And sometimes the non-praises are also great, although we love praises more. Big thanks to my beautiful wife, Christina with a K, for doing quality control and watching this morning. I will talk to you guys come Monday. As we know, as you said, we're going to have about 7 to 9 stories. We're still flirting around with some of those stories for Monday. So because we have 3 days to cover, we have more stories to get into to prepare you for your water cooler talk for your Monday. So have a great weekend. Have a great Easter. And make sure you stay limber, you stay hydrated, and you stay on task. Because there's so many things we need you around here for. We'll see you come Monday.